Hello. You got him. I got him.
Sir, you're the absolute best.
You talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you, man.
Pat, how are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much for doing this. I can't thank you enough.
My pleasure. Other than Bill Simmons, this is now the second podcast I've been on. His was the only one I've ever been on, so that's it.
Holy shit. This is incredible. I can't thank you enough. Ladies and gentlemen.
You're teaching me something here because I've never done an interview on this phone. Let's go.
You're about to teach me a lot, though, so I'm excited for this. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is a man that birthed the occupation that I'm about to dive into. If you didn't live in and or around the New York City area, you might not have known about his greatness until a 30 for 30 came out, and that's where I was introduced to this legend. The godfather of sports talk radio, the sports pope. From New York City, he'll end up in every Hall of Fame that involves a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Francesa.
That's very nice, thank you. I even got a cheering squad there. That's nice. Very nice.
I got a whole squad, man. I don't know how you and the Mad Dog used to do 5 hours. We can barely put together 30 minutes, so I respect.
We did 5.5 every day, and then I did 5.5 by myself for 10 years, 11 years before I finally decided to not do it anymore. So it was for a long. Basically, what happened was the idea was. To control two time periods is really what it was. It was to control drive time, but also control midday. And Dog and I hit them up for enough money where they had to have two time periods to pay us. That's
obviously, you and Mad Dog started the sports talk radio world that we live in now. They tried to do it beforehand. It just wouldn't work until you and your absolutely electric personality got behind a microphone. I'm diving into this world now. I asked Dan Patrick, who is also a notable sports broadcaster and daytime talk show, for advice. He told me always keep the show in mind and basically thank my boys and keep it moving. If you had to give somebody advice that was going to go down the career path that you dominated, what would it be?
Be informed. You want to be entertaining. And you want to try and give your audience something they don't have. Now, it's changed. When we started, Pat, we had more information than the audience did. Now the audience got every bit of information you have. So that's gone, okay? So now it's about different. It's about perspective. It's about opinion. It's about your take. So you got to have a personality, and you have to have a good take on things. That's going to be the guys who are going to break through now are the ones who have a take that is original and is entertaining. That's gonna be what separates the next group of people who are successful at this. Because, there's so much out there. There's so much clutter. When we started, there wasn't a lot there. We started sports talk radio. And it was failing when Dog and I took over. It was actually they were almost done with it. They were bleeding money. They were losing their shirt. Now remember, if it wasn't for Imus keeping us afloat before. With regular show in the morning, the fan never would have made it. So it took a little while for it to get going, but once it did, it really took off. So now you have a format that's saturated. Now you have podcasts where everybody has a podcast. You can't bump into someone who doesn't have a podcast, okay? Every producer has a podcast, okay? If you bump into an intern, I guarantee he's got a podcast. Everybody has a podcast. So that makes it basically a world of clutter. You got to cut through that, okay? Now, you get an advantage if someone knows you like you're well known, but you have to somehow cut through. And I think that's where it comes into having a good take, an original take, a personality that makes you different. Whatever it is that makes you different, whether it's attitude, whether it's perspective, that's really what it comes down to. You have to somehow cut through the clutter.
Okay, so you're obviously a man that I look up to, a lot of people in the world that do this daily talk show thing. Who are some people that you've noticed in the line of business that we're in? Well, I'm not in. I mean, I'm going to get in. That you have.
What do you mean? You're in it big now. They tell me you're doing great. You actually tell me you're one of the few people actually making any money with a podcast, so God bless you.
Francesa. I'm a lucky man.
Because most people who are doing doing podcasts are working for free.
Oh, a lot, by the way. A lot of people. There's a few of us that get very lucky that we get a chance to pay some folks with the advertising. Who are some people that are younger that you enjoy in the sports talk world? Anybody, or is it kind of just such a different world now that you kind of think shit of it?
I don't comment on others because it's not fair. So I haven't heard everybody, and I got to be honest. I don't listen to other people. I got to be very honest. I don't listen to the radio. I listen to the music. I listen to sometimes I listen to financial shows, or I listen to political talk. I don't listen to a lot of sports talk. So I mean, I know the young guys who have come through my show, and there's a million of them who are all working now, who are all in the business. So there's a lot of them. There's some good guys out there. I'm sure there'll be some unique guys out there. There's some characters out there. Simmons is a character, okay? He's not as smart as he thinks he is, but who would be? But listen, it's about, like I said, you have to cut through. You got to figure out a way to make people notice, and then you got to somehow brand what you're doing, because that's the only way you're going to make money now, because there's so much out there. It's hard for people who are executives, and most of them don't have a clue what's good or what's bad anyway. They really don't. They might act like they do, but they don't. It's all guesswork. So they have to see where there's a brand, somebody that they can latch onto. And that's what really you need, because that's what sponsors notice, and that's really what executives who are going to program these things notice. They're going to notice somebody who they've noticed or heard is hot. That's what they'll go by.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've been able to ride the herd and keep the herd hot for a long time and adapt to different things. Now we're in a digital age. The Mike's On app, by the way, legendary, trailblazing. We were thinking about doing the same thing, and we actually got referred to your app on numerous occasions. The ability to adapt to a new platform and a new world. How was that whole process? And do you hate the Back After This Twitter account, who is a Twitter thread, basically, of your best hits, just all day, every day?
There are 3 or 4 full-time apps and full-time accounts on Twitter that follow me. I understand it's part of the business. So I actually can tell you, and you can check this with the guys who work for me, I've never referred to it. I don't follow it. I don't read what's said about me. I don't follow it. First of all, I don't have time. I would not be able to do it. I would do it all day. All I know is I just noticed that for whatever reason, anything I do gets attention. I mean, that's all there is to it. Like last week, I said I wasn't going to Giant Camp, and that was the biggest story in New York. And I was in Saratoga running my horses, and I didn't even know that they were going crazy in New York about this fact that a couple reporters were chasing me down, asking me why I wasn't going to Giant Camp. And I wasn't going because the general manager wouldn't talk to me. So I said, I'm not going if he won't do an interview with me. So I wouldn't go. So that became the biggest story last week. So, I mean, it wasn't anything I did. I just actually said I wasn't going. For the first time in 40 years, I wasn't going to Giant Camp. They asked me why. I said because the general manager wouldn't do an interview with me. And then that became the biggest story last week for the whole week.
Oh, what a legend.
I mean, it just, listen, it's just, some people just cause a firestorm. I'm one of those people for whatever reason. I didn't ask people to do it. It just kind of followed me. And the digital thing, it's funny. The digital thing really started when Dog left. And it really was not something that he and I dealt with. It's something I've dealt with. And it just was, that's when Francesa Con started. That's when all this Pope nonsense started. That's when all this other stuff started with Barstool and the T-shirts and all that and everything else. So it's really about 10 years old, and a lot of that was really me, not us. I mean, the Mike and the Mad Dog life was a very different life, and it was all pre-Twitter, pre-digital, pre-all that stuff. That was not part of our 20 years. That's everything from that has come afterwards. That's all this new stuff. And it keeps changing. Like, I don't have an Instagram account. My kids talk to me about what's on Instagram when we're in the car. I have 3 teenagers, twins, boy and girl, and a son 12, and boy and girl twins 14. So they tell me everything. Dad, you should see what's on Instagram. You should see, Dad, you're like trending here. You're doing this, you're doing that. I don't even pay attention to it, to be honest with you. I might be in the swimming pool when they're doing it.
Just the thought. There's the thought of you getting behind a microphone, saying something, the world burning down, and just walking to the backyard and hopping in a pool is
That's basically it. On the Eli tweet, when they went crazy on Eli, I got like about 1 million hits, and I wasn't even on the air when it happened. I did it and left.
Is there any moment you look back on in this incredible, 30-year, 3-decade run of dominance in sports talk, where you go, that moment was awesome. Like, that was the moment that, like, it's the first moment that you had maybe in this world where it seemed as if everything was much bigger than you could have ever imagined. I mean, you mentioned Francesa Con. I watched it on the 30 for 30. There was people losing their minds for you. It was like people have said this about my people, listeners, but it was like a cult was following you around.
Yeah, the first Francesa Con was really strange. I was not expecting it. I had heard about it the first year, and I didn't attend it. And they had it in about 10 different places the first year on the same date. Then they decided to put it all in one place, and I said I would attend. And I'm figuring I'm walking in on a Saturday on a couple of people. I walk in and there's thousands of people in there and just going absolutely berserk. So yeah, that was an unusual day. I have to admit, that one was very surprising. If I go back through the Mike and the Mad Dog thing, for us, you got to remember, it was all new to us. Believe it or not, if I went back and showed you the critiques of Mike and the Mad Dog when it started, people hated it. They thought we should get split up. We shouldn't work together. We were bad together. All we did was fight. And then the first rating book came out, and we were a sensation. And then everyone said, oh, they're great together. So really, it wasn't anything that we did. It was that we got results. So as soon as we got results, within 9 months, we were number one by a mile. I mean, we were on the air. We took over a show that was in like 15th place. We went to third in the first book. We went to first in the second book. We went to first by like a mile and a half in the third book. And then it was, oh my God, we were like royalty in New York. And that was it. It was over. It was no longer ever a question if we would be together. It was, would we be together for the rest of our lives because we were so successful. So it wasn't anything that we did on the air that caused it. It was just that we had so much success from a rating standpoint that it just became, and then everything, we were the first at everything. We didn't have any competition. Every interview came to us. Every athlete came to us. Every coach came to us. I'll give you a perfect example. We would go do a game, Knicks, Indiana, Game 7. And at 5 o'clock for a 9 o'clock game, Pat Riley would come out courtside and do a half hour with us live before Game 7. I mean, a half hour live. And he'd do that before every big game. And we would get the coaches. We would get, Friday Super Bowl, we'd get George Young, or we'd get the coach on. We had offensive coordinators from the Super Bowl. I'll give you Super Bowls, but we were the only show there. We were the only show at the Super Bowl. We had the guys on who were coaching the game on Fridays on our show. That's how long we were doing this.
Okay, so with that type of access early and the incredible results, the interviews are things that nobody has ever heard before. Magic is happening all over the place. You gained this incredible conversation style where you were able to ask questions of people that other people wouldn't ask. For instance, and you're still doing it to this day, that conversation you had with the Mets GM, since, by the way, they've gone 20-5, I believe, nobody has thanked you yet from the Mets organization for the Francesa Bomber.
I didn't do anything.
But
I didn't do anything.
The way you asked that question, in the way you phrased it is, you lied to you lied to the fans. Nobody's going to trust you right now. You're saying what every fan is thinking, but you still have the amount of respect level in your question to get good answers. Was there ever a question that you thought was like off the board? Because then in that 30 for 30, they had you and A-Rod in there where you're basically telling them to pack it up and leave New York, but it was an interesting situation now because you've become friends. But was there ever an interview where you're like, probably shouldn't do this, or do you just kind of let it fly and you know what people want to hear?
Well, everyone makes a big deal out of the one where I asked Bobby Knight when he was sitting 3 feet away if he had an anger issue. Okay.
And then you said, yeah, I know everybody has a temper. I just wanted to hear you say you had one.
Yeah, well, and that was after 6 months before that, where he hung up on me on the phone, called me an ass, and hung up on me when I asked him the question. So he slammed the phone down on us. So. We had stuff like that, and give Dog credit. Dog was never afraid to ask a question, ever. Sometimes the question was from Mars, but the bottom line is, we just asked whatever needed to be asked. That was basically it. We just felt comfortable, and we knew the people. The one thing we got all of a sudden was we got access to everybody. I've been doing this so long that I know the coaches when they're assistants. I know them when they're young and they grow into managers. I mean, I know most of these guys long before they ever get there. I got to be honest. I play golf with a couple of the owners. I mean, it's I don't hide that. So I know these guys very well. So we argue sometimes. They get mad at me sometimes. There's owners will get mad at me, but I have a pretty cordial relationship with most of the owners. I don't get along with Woody Johnson. I get along very well with John Mara, as an example. I think I know Jim Dolan pretty well, but nobody really gets along with him very well. And I've been out to dinner with Jim Dolan. I can tell you that I've had dinner with him. So I can admit to that. So, but you know what? That just comes with the territory when you've been here this long. I've been doing this 35 years. That's a long time.
Have you and the GM made up for the Giants? Will you?
No, he won't talk to me. And I don't really know him that well. He just came to New York, and when he was a scout here, I didn't know him. He was not big on the totem pole back in the days when that was the Parcells Giants, or even the Coughlin Giants, and I was very close to both of them. I've been very close to Tom. I was very close to Bill, and I didn't know Gettleman. He was a scout. I didn't know him. I didn't know all the scouts, so I didn't know Gettleman, and I only talked to him on the air once since he's been in New York. And then when I blasted him, he refused to come on. And all I said was, if I'm going to Giant camp, I think the Giants owe it to me to give me the decision makers, give me the coach, give me the quarterback, give me the owner and who makes the decisions, which is John Mara, and give me the general manager. If you're not going to do that, why should I show up? So they wouldn't give me the general manager, so I said I'm not showing up.
Amen, by the way. I'm on your side there. I think the entire NFL should give you everybody because your conversations with people are incredible.
I'm going there. I'm going to take my show there. Listen, if I'm in my studio, they don't owe me anything. But if I'm going to do the show from their place, I'm trekking out there to do the show there. Why would I go if they're not going to give me the guys who make the decisions? The fans want to hear why Gettleman did what he did. If I disagree, he can come on and defend his decisions. He's a big boy. Come on and defend why you did this. My big problem is this. Why you had such enormous holes, especially on defense? Why spend your two biggest assets on the same position? You either get rid of Eli and draft a quarterback, or don't draft a quarterback and draft a pass rusher there and keep Eli. To have two quarterbacks, they can't both play unless you're going to tell me that Daniel Jones is going to get 15 sacks this year. It doesn't work.
By the way, he should have an answer for that, too. If he's a GM, by the way, he's done his research. He'll be able to have reasoning.
I'll tell you what his answer is. His answer is trying to save his ass so we can be here next year.
Okay, let's move on to people that do absolutely love coming on the show. Unlike the Giants' current GM, which he should want to come back on the show and make right with the sports pope. That seems like that's smart business, especially if you're willing to trek all the way out there. Business. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That seems like a smart decision. Let's talk.
Let me ask you a question first.
Yes, sir.
What's the hardest part of doing your job daily?
I think it's the energy to stay up all the time. For me.
That's a good one. I agree with that. That's a good one.
What is yours?
Now? Yeah. Not being bored. That's if you're doing it as long as I have. Having enough. Luckily, I like the game still. You see, if I got to the point and luckily for me, money's not an issue. I'm not hanging around for the money. So, thank God. So, the point is, to me, I have to care enough to get worked up. Like, I watch the games. Even when I'm on vacation, I watch the games. If I get to a point where I didn't watch the games, I would never go to work. Because to me, if you don't want to watch the games, don't do what we do. Because you can't do it in one city. The fans expect you to know what's going on. They expect you to go in there, and when the manager screwed up, you got to be able to go in there and know why you think he screwed up and take him through the situation, or why you don't think he screwed up. You got to see the games, and if it's a problem for you to watch the games, then you're in the wrong line of work. That's the first thing as far as sports talk. If you don't want to watch the damn games, okay? And on Sunday, I have a room with 4 TVs in it, and I never leave it from the first football week to the last football week. I watch every game. Anytime you want to come, Pat, you can sit in my room and watch all the games.
I was about to ask you, can I
started that 40 years ago. I still do it every Sunday.
I cannot wait to come there. That is going to be
anytime. You know where I learned that? On the NFL Today. I grew up on the NFL Today, and I got to watch all the games during the show with Musburger, Jimmy the Greek, and I worked with those guys when I was a kid. And the bottom line is, when I lost that show on Sunday, when I wasn't there anymore, I said, man, I can't see all the NFL games. Well, then came the Sunday ticket, and then I had all the games in my house. So, man, on Sunday, I have every game on at the same time, and I watch all the games.
I couldn't. Are you an emotional watcher, or are you just kind of hanging out, taking things in? What's the food? I'm
not an emotional watcher.
You're just kind of hanging out, having some food.
Unless I had a bet on the game.
Come on, you son of a!
Then my wife says, "Oh, now I know he's got a bet on the game."
You and your wife have a beautiful relationship. It's kind of like an unwritten storyline always throughout your entire life, is you and your beautiful wife catching you either eating something you shouldn't be, or drinking, or slipping in a drink. That is a massive part of your life, being a big-time family man, I'd assume.
Well, I mean, listen, she's a lot younger than I am, and what I say is I'm the boss from the time I leave the driveway till I get back in the driveway. I mean, that's basically it. Then I'm not the boss anymore. So I admit that. And when I'm in the house, I just say, yes, ma'am. That's it.
Smart. I need to start doing more of that if I had to guess.
I mean, that's it. Otherwise it doesn't work. It doesn't. So, yes, and I didn't have kids until I was older, so I cherish them. So I have 2 boys and a girl. So, yes, they are very important to me. And like I said, I didn't have my first kid until I was 49. So having 3 of them, it was a big deal. So I really I get a kick out of them. And they're both real big sports fans, so it's kind of fun. They've enjoyed this stuff through the years. You know, I got to go to a lot of games, different big games, stuff like that.
I think we lost you. We got to call you back.
I got you now.
Okay, sorry about that. That's our fault.
That's okay.
Our internet's trash over here.
I'll take the blame. Go ahead. What's up?
I will let you know your finger is covering up a little bit of the screen, and the internet's going to love that.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I got you. Go ahead. This is the first time I ever did an interview on the phone. Come on.
Hey, you're crushing if it means anything. Speaking of interviews on the phone, your callers, in the way you interact with callers. I'm going to have this on my show. What is your mindset towards people that are calling into the show trying to be a part of the action?
You just hit on what is the number one asked question. Why are you so hard on the callers? And I said, you really are disrespectful to the callers. I said, no, I'm not. I cherish my audience. I challenge my callers. They're 2 different people. 98% of the people never call. The 2% that call are frustrated performers. It's like you're on a stage and they walk out onto the middle of the stage and just stand there. They have to do something to make your show better. If they don't do that, you know what? They don't belong there. They're not the audience. The audience never performs. They're never on the air. The callers, I challenge them. The audience, I cherish it. It's a completely different thing.
That was an incredible. Hey, that was an incredible piece of advice right there. That whole stage thing.
I can tell you just listen. If you're smart, you just really learn something there, because that's very true.
I mean, I'm not the smartest guy. I dropped out of college, but I feel like that was a.
Hey, listen. You played football. I know a long time without a helmet. I do know that. Seriously. Listen. Your callers, why would you say, oh, that's a great thought. Thank you for calling. I mean, my God, give me a gun. I mean, the bottom line is you want to challenge your callers. If you're going to call up and come on my show, if you don't say something to make it better, I don't want you there. I'm going to tell you what I really think, that you're a jackass getting lost, okay? If you're good, I'll say you're good. If you're bad, I'll say you're bad. But you're there to perform. You called up to perform. You are not a regular part of the audience. You are now a performer. You want to be there. And most of the callers call every day. You know that. There's a regular list of callers. They like to perform. They call all the shows. They like to get on. And they know on my show, if they don't come with something, they're going to hear it.
Oh, that's incredible. You have had some callers here in the digital age attempt to troll you.
Yes. That's another one of those sites that they get credit or something. I think they get like green stamps, or they get like Amazon points, or they get something for doing that. I'm not sure what they get.
Fuck. When did I Never Said That start? That's a massive thing on the internet. You probably don't even know that. I never said that is one of the hottest things on Francesa internet is when a caller thinks they got.
The thing is, you got to watch that stuff. You got to remember too that on those sites, if it doesn't come out the way they want it, they can edit it too. You got to be very careful with it.
That is true. You can edit anything in these days,
and we have caught them editing those. So let's be honest, we've caught them on numerous occasions editing those. So they're in the entertainment business. They're trying to get hits. And they want it to work the way they want to make it work. I could make 10 predictions in a row right. If I make the 11th wrong, it's going to lead their thing for an hour and a half. That's just the way it works,
Well, and that's because everything you do moves the needle. So it's more
Bingo,
of a...
That's the idea, which we know that, though. So it doesn't make any... that's why they only want to run the ones that you get wrong. That's the way. They don't run any of the ones you get right. You know that.
How do you feel about this upcoming NFL season? Who's going to be some teams that you think are going to come out of the woodwork? Are you happy with what happened? Obviously not with the Giants. Maybe the Jets bringing in Lev Bell. How do you feel about everybody?
I wouldn't have brought Bell in. I don't trust him. I think he's a bad team guy. I think he's a me guy. So I don't like selfish players. I think he's a completely selfish player. I didn't get along with Beckham. I was very hard on Beckham. Beckham and I hated each other. So I mean, that's pretty. Everyone knows that. That's not a secret. I think the Jets have. I love Donald. I think he's really good. I think getting the center to come out of retirement was big. They really got to get stronger at the tackles offensively. Their defense has a chance to be really good. If the Alabama kid is good, their safeties are exceptional. They have a chance to be really good on defense if the Alabama kid's as good as everybody says he is. I got to wait to see him. I haven't seen him yet on any real situation, but they say he's really good. I think the Jets... Now, I don't know what to make of Gage. See, I didn't think Gage was a bad coach in Miami. I thought he was a little weird. And then when I saw him rolling his eyes at the press conference, I really thought he was weird.
Hey, he's snorting smelling salts right now. Gase is out there snorting smelling salts, too.
He's weird, Gage. I mean, he really is. I saw him break off a thing before he started the game the other night. I mean, I was like, what is he doing? He's an odd duck, but I don't care if he wins. Who cares? So, but I think it's about getting the quarterback to be who he is, and I think he's really good. I like Sam a lot. I liked him in college. They have a chance to be an 8-9 win team, I think, if things fit together. They're not ready to win big yet, but they're ready to take a step. Giants have no defense. I mean, their offensive line finally is going to be better. The tight end's going to have a big year for all you rotisserie nerds. He's going to have a very big, or a fantasy
rotisserie. Hold on. Did you say rotisserie nerds?
Yeah, or fantasy, whatever you want to call that stuff. That was the biggest mistake I ever made, Pat. You know that?
What's that?
That was the biggest mistake I ever made financially. I could have owned that. I could have owned that whole genre if I wanted to. They begged me to get involved in the beginning. They offered me everything and I wouldn't do it. We wouldn't even do it on a show. And that was the biggest financial mistake we ever made because we could have owned that stuff. I mean, they begged us to get involved in the beginning. I can't tell you how much the offers they gave us to get involved.
You just didn't like the thought of it, or what?
I just thought it was not real football. I thought, you know what? I don't care how many yards your back has. Tell me who wins the game. I just didn't care. And Dog and I hated it. We just never got involved. We never talked it. But I'm telling you, the offers I got were unbelievable to be involved in that thing. We would have made a fortune. Absolute fortune. That was the biggest financial mistake I ever made because it turned out to be really big. It really did. So I was dead wrong about that. I don't play it, but I've never played it. I've never been involved in it. I don't have a team or anything like that. You know what? I care about the games. I can't watch the game that way. I want to watch the game. I just don't look at the game that way. That's all. It's just me. It's just I don't care if a guy gets an 80-yard run or something like that. I'm not worried about my guy versus that. I never looked at it like that. You like it?
No, I can't get into it. It takes a lot of time, too. These people are moving players, and they got flex
plays. They call up trades. And somebody called me up for a trade at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd kill him.
What does the next 5 years look like for you? What is the next? Are you going to just do this forever? The world hopes you do. What is your plan?
No, I see. Listen, I always made the comment, I got to be true to it. I really had a belief that you shouldn't stay in these great jobs, and I thought I had the best job in the world. I don't think you should stay in them till you're 80, because if everybody stays in them till they're 80, then what happens to the generation behind you? So I think eventually you got to get out of these good jobs and give somebody else a chance. So with that, before that long, I'll move out of the job, and then I'll do some content somewhere and do some stuff. But I don't see me doing the drive, doing afternoon drive that much longer. Only because I think it's time to let someone else have a chance. I've had an incredible run. I'm lucky enough to be in all those Hall of Fames you already mentioned, so I don't have to worry about that. I mean, I've already done everything I need to do. If I finish first again, what do I care? I've already finished first like 77 times.
Who's counting?
So, I mean, listen. Yeah, it's about 75 or 76. It's close. It's close. Yeah, it's close. I do keep count. Absolutely. Hell, that's the idea. That's how I get paid.
Hey,
let's finish it first.
Hey, that's incredibly selfless of you to think about the next generation of broadcasters. That's very cool.
I just think I've always said it, and I don't want to be a phony now and not do it. So I'd like to see someone else get a chance and get my job. Now, listen, if I had made enough money, I'd stay. But I made enough money, so I don't have to worry about it. And I'll do something, and I'll probably get overpaid for doing it. That's the good part. Because I'm a good negotiator. Now, how about you? Didn't I see you're going to be doing games now? Aren't you going to be doing color?
Yeah, Thursday night football, college games.
How good is that? I'll tell you right now. I told ESPN they missed the boat. They should have let. Here's the guy. They have the guy who's perfect. I would make Tebow the Monday night analyst. He'd be perfect. The nation loves him, and he can't hit a curveball, so he's worthless as a baseball player. He's the nicest guy in the world. Tebow, I killed Tebow. Pat, here's a true story. I killed Tebow. I kill him. I kill the Mets for putting him on a roster, taking a roster spot. I kill him. I go down to spring training within 15 minutes. He's my best friend.
Yes, it happened to me too.
I said, you know what? I feel like a fool. You're the nicest guy I ever met. My kids loved him. My daughter wanted to marry him. I mean, the guy's the nicest guy who ever lived. It's hard not to love him. He's a great guy. He really is.
Because you would think somebody who's portrayed as literally the son of God is what
right.
You would
basically.
You would think it would be fake, but then you meet him, it's like, no, this is legitimately the guy.
No, I'm convinced now he is. I really am. I think he is. Because he's like perfect. You want to vote for him for president, right away, like for life. Let him be president for life. The guy's perfect.
Hey, he's handsome.
Never had a cavity. He's got muscles on his muscles, and I don't think he's ever done anything wrong.
And he's handsome as hell. I mean, it's
great looking. He's got muscles on top of his muscles. He's modest. I mean, he's the nicest guy but he can't hit a damn curveball. The guy's hitting 40 in the minor leagues, and he make 15 million being the color guy on ESPN. Put him in the job. See, Peyton Manning doesn't want that job. You know why? He doesn't want to criticize anybody. He wants to be loved. He wants to do commercials. Peyton Manning's gonna make money doing whatever he does, but he doesn't want to do that. So that's fine. Let Tebow do it, or you be perfect doing Monday night. Just kill everybody. Just go out there. You were a punter. You didn't play anyway. So
easy. I was just about to ask you about the Jets kicking situation. You guys don't even have a kicker. Your kicker retired.
Hey, listen, it'd be nice if you brought one to the game, but they might remember that. If Woody was back, they wouldn't remember it. But if with him in London, maybe they'll remember to bring a kicker to the game.
I wanted to circle back with Quinn and Williams, where you talked about if he's as good as they say he is, it's going to be great for the Jets defense. Do you enjoy that he has like an incredible personality? Do you like the personalities of the game, or you just don't care about anything outside the lines?
I don't care about the players very much. I have to admit, I find the coaches fascinating. First of all, now I can't relate to the players anymore. I mean, I could, but I was never a guy who was very interested in the players. I've had a couple of players who were friends. I've had coaches who were friends. I didn't have a lot of play. Like A-Rod and I are friendly. I felt bad for A-Rod because everyone was kicking his ass, so I tried to protect him. I really felt bad for him. Here's the guy who's the richest man in the world, and and hit 700 home runs, but I felt bad for him. I really did. And he's got more money than God, and he's got everything he could want, except he's sometimes dumber than a brick in the decisions he makes. That's all. So, but I like him. I like him personally. I always have. I knew him from the days he was in Seattle. I really like him. He's a genuinely good kid. He really is. He's not a bad guy. Bernie Williams is a friend. He's been a friend for a long time. One of the great clutch players ever. That's what I liked about him. I'll give you an example. Jeter and I, if I talked to Jeter by myself for 10 minutes in my life, but he did his job, I did my job. We never had a crossword in 20 years. You know why? He was professional. He knew what he had to do. He did it. He knew what I had to do. He knew my job. I knew his job. We never had an issue. Never once.
Okay, you said you and Odell hated each other. How'd that start? Was it with the net, the kicking net?
He couldn't handle the criticism, and I banged him pretty hard. Yeah, that's it.
He's a good football
here
player.
was Tom Coughlin. Tom Coughlin was a great coach. Beat Bill Belichick twice in the Super Bowl. Was a great coach. He made Tom Coughlin look like a total fool. He made Tom Coughlin look like he didn't even know what he was doing out there. He embarrassed the hell out of him. Here was one of the great gentlemen of the game, one of the great coaches of the game, and that guy made him look like a dope the way because Tom was either told not to or just felt it wasn't right to chastise him. He should have pulled him out of the game by his ear against Carolina that time.
Hey, Tom's doing great work down in Jacksonville. If Nick Foles can complete a couple passes, that team's going to be a good football team. All of a sudden, nobody's talking about good for Tom Coughlin. The boys here, my guys.
How many guys you got working on your show?
Okay, so we have 6 guys in here with me.
How many have open mics during your show?
Well, it's kind of they pick and choose their times. It's not an open mic, but they feel as if whenever they get in, they can get in, you know?
Here's how we differ. In my show, there's only one mic.
Hey, by the way, mic's on.
Mic's on, and no one else has a mic on. No one else. Not anyone in the studio, not anyone in the broadcasting room. No one has a mic on except me. That's it.
If somebody else wants to say something, which I think your producer does say some things every once
in a while.
Yeah,
raises his hand.
That's what Dan Patrick does too.
And do you get mad at him if he says something you don't enjoy?
No, I wouldn't get mad. No, he wouldn't be there tomorrow. He works for me. What do you think? He's stupid? He gets paid for it. He works for me. He's not going to jeopardize it.
Just the thought of your producer having to go through all the social media platforms after you burn the world down.
He does that all the time. That's what he does. He gets a kick out of it, though, man. I've had a lot of producers. Most of them are broadcasters now who have been my producers. They're almost every one of them's in the business.
You're a great mentor, man. You've done.
No, I didn't do anything. They did it on their own. They just ran away from me and did it on their own.
I'm sure they didn't learn shit from you over all the years. I'm sure they did.
It may be a little rubbed off. I doubt it.
My guys have great questions for you, though, man. We are such huge fans of yours over here. We're so thankful for your time. I know this isn't something you normally do, so
Stop kissing my ass and answer questions.
Well, it's not my fucking questions. It's theirs, all right? I'm just trying to set it up here so we can buy some more time. Jesus.
Okay.
Mike, question for you. One of the biggest storylines over the weekend in the NFL was Antonio Brown's situation with the Raiders. First, it was the feet. Now it's the helmet. I wanted to see if you could grace us with a take on the AB issues.
I wouldn't have him on my team if he was the last man breathing, okay? I can't stand him. I couldn't stand him in Pittsburgh. And now, can he blame this on Ben Roethlisberger, too? Can he figure out how to do that? Okay? That guy just shows you it doesn't matter what uniform he's wearing, he's going to be a pain in the ass. That's all there is to it. I wouldn't give him $5, no less $15 million a year or whatever the hell he's making right now. I mean, forget it. He's got to learn that it's not just about talent. Talent's not enough. He's going to be home somewhere 5 years after he can't play anymore, and he's going to say, boy, you know what? Did I screw up my career?
Oh, you think he's going to have that moment where he's sleeping on
Yes, absolutely. I think they all do, where they say, boy, you know what? I should have been a great player. And you know what? I messed it up. Because you're only, and you know this, Pat, you only got a chance to be great for a very short time in the NFL. A very short time.
I agree. Everybody has their spans wherever they're at their peak. And Antonio Brown is, so you even agree, Antonio Brown, incredible football player. It's just everything else.
Great talent. So's Bell, so Beckham. All three of them, though, I wouldn't have any of them near me. They're such all selfish jerks.
Not you, though. You're looking out for the next generation of broadcasters. Selfless man, Mike Francesa.
No. Listen, I want football players that want to play. See, here's the thing. Lawrence Taylor ran all night. Lawrence Taylor, was insane. But you know what? He was a great team guy. He just wanted to win the damn game, and he was going to figure out a way to win the game. That's what you want out of great players. Go on there on Sunday and figure out how to win the game.
The locker room is such an important part of the NFL. It doesn't get talked about enough. Being a good locker room guy, good chemistry, everybody getting along. And it does seem as if with the egos growing in the NFL, that might be fading away. This next guy asking you a question has a popped blood vessel in his right eyeball, but he's got a good brain.
Well, Mike, just keep him off air. Just keep him off the camera. That's all. Okay?
Mike, you talked about over your 35 years, all the access you got and all the people that you got to interview. Is there anyone that you did not get a chance to interview that you've always wanted to speak with?
Joe DiMaggio, could not get him. Tried every which way, could not get him to a microphone. No matter what. Hank Goldberg, who you guys might know, who was a big guy down in Miami, who I had worked with Jimmy the Greek when we were kids. He was very close to Joe, still couldn't set it up. We even tried to get Ted Williams to set it up for us to organize. And he said, don't worry, I'll get Joe to do it. And we could never get Joe DiMaggio to. He was not one of nature's noblemen, okay, to be honest with you. Joe DiMaggio, he was a god as a player. He's married to Marilyn Monroe, okay. I mean, he was Joe DiMaggio. But he just wasn't one of nature's noblemen, and we could never get him to do the show, ever. I always wanted to interview Joe DiMaggio, and I would have asked him about Marilyn Monroe, and then he would have walked out anyway.
We finally have Joe DiMaggio, and see you later, Joe DiMaggio. What a moment that would be. Oh, my God. Nature's nobleman. What a quote right there.
Hey, he was just a jerk, really, to be honest with you. But you know what? Hey, he was Joe DiMaggio. He could be anything he wanted to be.
Now, you view that about the old school guys, but the younger guys that act in a similar fashion.
No, different. Joe DiMaggio went up to Boston with basically heel spurs where he couldn't even walk and got 8 hits in a doubleheader. He was a winner. If these guys were winners, if they cared enough to go out and play, I don't care what they are off the field, I don't want them to hurt their teams, and these guys do nothing but hurt their teams.
You love winners.
That's it. I don't want guys who are team guys. I want them to go out there. I don't care if they tear the town down after the game's over. What do I care? I'm not their parents. I want them to not wreck the teams. Beckham wrecked the team when he was here. He hurt the team when he was here because there had to be 2 sets of rules. His, and then everyone said, well, wait a second. Why? If you can't chastise him, you're not chastising me either. There's the breakdown completely of any character or any discipline on that team. That kills teams. How come every year Beckham was here, they lost?
I'm going to say Beckham.
No, not just him, but it was a breakdown where they didn't chastise him. Same thing with Shockey. They didn't win until Shockey left. Shockey was the same way. He was a total jerk. As soon as he left, they won Super Bowls.
It's incredible. I love everything you do. I want to let you know, whenever you start speaking, you're one of nature's noblemen, bro.
I'm not, but go ahead.
This next question is going to come from a brilliant mind, I can already tell.
Mr. Francesa, if the radio career didn't work out, what would have been like your plan B career?
You know what? That's a good question. My mother always said I should be a lawyer.
Really?
That makes sense.
I wouldn't want to go to school anymore. If I had known Wall Street, I like to dabble in stocks now. I like to invest. If I would have realized how much fun Wall Street would have been, I would have loved Wall Street. I didn't know enough about it. I wish I knew what I knew now about Wall Street about 30 years ago. I would have loved going to Wall Street.
Okay, what are some financial investments that I should be doing on the stocks? You day trade or is it long term?
A little bit of both, but investing means you keep it. You're not looking to trade it, okay? Meaning long term, meaning keep the stock. I'm going to give you a couple right now.
Yeah,
please. You 2 companies. You ready?
Yep.
A company called Slack, which the symbol on the big board is WORK. Work is the symbol, Slack. The other one is a company called Zoom, ZOOM. This is, you guys should know about this. This is high-flung technology, okay? ZM is the symbol for that one, ZM.
Okay.
Take those 2. They're very new companies. Put them away. They will be enormous companies, Zoom and Slack.
That's what I'm talking about. Zoom is the recording stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, video conferencing.
And Slack is that app?
Video conferencing is Zoom, yes.
We use them both.
Yeah, we use them both here. That's smart.
Well, you see, the fact that you use them both tells you why I think they're going to be enormous companies.
Gee, we've never met before today, and you knew that we use these companies. That's why you
I didn't know that you use them. I have no idea, but I tell you right now, they're going to be big companies. That I can tell you.
Do you give out investment advice on your show?
No, I do not. No. I just do it for myself. I do tweet out it once in a while. I gave people the company Beyond Meat when it was 20 and it went to 200, so they like that.
Well, when Zoom and Slack do that, I'm going to send you something.
No, don't say, these I'm telling you to put away and let your kid have them. Zoom and Slack. Put them away for 10 years and don't ever sell them and reinvest the dividends. Very important.
All right, let me lock that one in. That's a 20-year investment. All right, thank you.
Give them to your kids. Put them in your kids' accounts. Zoom and Slack.
Nice. I have no kids. I don't think I can, by the way. I don't know.
Why? I mean, how old are you?
32. Physically, I can. I'm talking about mentally, emotionally.
Why?
Because you have to care for them and love them, and
Yes, you do. But you know what? It'll happen naturally. You don't think it'll happen, and the first day you meet them, you can't take your eyes off them. Your life changes forever. You know why? First time in your life, you care about something more than yourself.
Oh. Hey, you just went real deep right there on me.
That's true.
I felt it
First
down there
time
in my
life,
soul.
You know what? Marriage doesn't do that. Nothing does it. The first time you meet them is the first time that you genuinely take a bullet for them.
And you had a baby when you were 49, your first kid, and now you have 3?
Right in a row. 2 and then the one right afterwards.
It's incredible.
Hey, it was a Valentine's Day baby. You know how it happens.
The romantic Mike Francesa taking questions from the room.
Mr. Francesa, do you have an interview that sticks out in your mind as your all-time favorite, and then one that's your all-time least favorite?
Yeah, Don King. I couldn't get a damn word in edgewise. I couldn't even get in. I'm telling you. You know what? If you remember in the movie Ali, damn, Don, you used every D in a dictionary. Well, he did. I'm telling you. You couldn't get in. One was worse than him, though. You know who was worse than him? I'm trying to think. There had to be one that was.
I'll tell you, I just saw your brain start to work right there mid-sentence. That was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, well, he was one where you were just like waiting for 5 minutes for just a little bit of a crack to get a word in, but you couldn't. He just kept going on and on and on and on for like 20 minutes. You know, Jesse Jackson was the same way. I interviewed Jesse Jackson. He just went on forever. Jesse, do you remember what the question was? I don't even remember what the question was.
Who's the best?
We had Sid Luckman and Otto Graham together in an interview. No, excuse me. Sid Luckman and Sammy Bohr together in an interview with Dog and I. We hooked them up, and we let them talk to each other. And here were these two old giants who hadn't talked in like a million years. It was unbelievable just to listen to them talk to each other, going back like 40 years ago football. It was amazing. We happened to have them on. They hooked in together, and Dog and I actually had them both on. They just talked to each other for about old football. It was unbelievable just to listen to them.
Those
two
types
legendary guys.
Those types of moments happen. It really changes things. Like, for instance, whenever Mad Dog called into your show after and you guys had that moment, I mean, that's a legendary moment in your history and your existence. It was a cool thing. It was a real moment there.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. They didn't that was one where I kind of broke the rule. He had left on not very good terms, and they didn't let him say goodbye. You know, in radio, they don't like you to say goodbye after you leave. They don't want you to, because they don't know what you're going to say. Right? They think, you know, you might blast the company or anything else. And this was CBS that owned FAN at the time. So Dog agrees to leave, and they won't let him say goodbye. So he's out. And they said to me, we don't want you to put him on. And I said, okay. And then I went in and put him on. So, and it turned out to be one of the classic hours in the history of the show, because that was the day he said goodbye, which, you know, when he started crying and the whole thing. And, you know, so it was, you know, we talked about 20 years together, and we hadn't gotten along that summer. We probably hadn't talked and say, you know, I can tell you this right now. This is true. Mike and the Mad Dog, 5.5 hours every day, 5 days a week. We actually had periods, a 6-month period, where we never spoke a word to each other off the air or during a commercial. And we were in the room together 5.5 hours every day. And no one knew in the audience that we were fighting. And we hadn't spoken in 6 months.
Wow. That's like the epitome of professionalism. Whenever the light
Not
goes on.
a word. One of us would leave the room during every commercial break.
Did you guys just alternate turns? Like, you guys just understood? Like, all right, I'll leave this one.
No, I always left the room. He'd stay in the room. I'd leave the room.
So was this your decision not to talk for 6 months?
No, it was both. We weren't talking. We had plenty of time. We had a lot of fights. We had plenty of times. As a matter of fact, that summer, it's in the documentary. My wife put the show back together. If she hadn't done it, it was over. I had decided I was leaving that summer, and she actually got the show back together, which is a true story, in 2000. And we lasted another 8 years after that.
I'll tell you what, if the thought of having to speak to somebody for 5.5 hours straight every single day for 30 years, 20 years, like, that's a very massive relationship that you're having with somebody.
Yeah, and we traveled together a lot, too. I mean, we traveled, we did a ton of remotes. We went on a lot of trips. We traveled together a lot. We were together all the time. I mean, we were together all the time. Airports, hotels, here, there, everywhere. We were together all the time. I mean, really, we saw so much of each other. It was unbelievable. We spent 20 years together. We really did. People were like, "Oh, you didn't get along." I said, "We spent 20 years together. I mean, it's a long time, you know." And then everyone's always trying to make a big deal over, "Oh, Mike, you know, you did this first, or this did happen, or this or that." You know, so it's always that way when you have a team. It's always, everything isn't always equal, and when that happens, it makes it very tough. It really does. If you go back, Abbott and Costello didn't get along. Lewis and Martin didn't get along. Mike and the Mad Dog, we had our moments. We got along. We didn't get along. You know, we have our moments.
You're together a lot. Humans are going to eventually butt heads. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
And look, the two guys who made the two-man show before us, all Sports Talk was all one-man show. We made the shows that became two-man shows and three-man shows and four-man shows. And now the two guys who made it the two-man show, who created the two-man show, revolutionized the business, have been doing solo shows for 12 years apiece.
Hey, there was two Justin Timberlakes in that NSYNC there, Mike and the Mad Dog. You're both great solo artists as well, which was originally your plan, right? You didn't want to be a two-man show. You wanted to be a solo show way back
badly. Not only that, we always thought we were better solo, and we always did solo shows. Me Sunday, him Saturday, our whole lives. That's what I think made Mike and the Mad Dog the best show ever, is because we always were two solo acts. We never were a one-man gang. We never vacationed together. One of us was there when the other one wasn't there. We covered the whole year that way, and we liked to work alone. We loved to work alone. So that's why I think the show was that good, is because we were solo acts.
That's awesome. This next guy is the guy that introduced me to you.
Really?
Yeah, he's been a fan his entire life, and he has an impression. I'm sure you've
Where's
heard.
he from?
Iowa, actually.
Waterloo, Iowa.
Yeah. Big Yankees fan.
Yeah, I went there. I did a couple of Iowa Michigan games back then. Hayden Fry wasn't a very friendly man.
He has an impression of you. How many impressions of you have you heard and liked?
None.
I'm not going to do it then. I can't really.
Yeah, he's not going to do
it. Do it. I hate it, but do it anyway. Go ahead.
Okay. After this, we'll be back with Dave Gettleman if he decides to come on the show. I don't know. We'll see. Okay.
See, I don't think I sound like that. It's true. Plus, everyone always, you know, I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but I graduated magna cum laude from college. It makes it sound like I don't have a brain in my head.
That's fair. No disrespect.
I got an academic scholarship to college. I mean, I know it was only St. John's, but I still got an academic scholarship. You know, but the impersonations always make it seem like I don't have a brain in my head, which really is far from the truth.
Mike, my question is, at this point in your career, I'm assuming you've had the opportunity to write like a big sprawling biography or maybe have like a movie about you. Maybe not, but if that was the case, would you do it? And who would you want to play you in a movie?
Who would I want to play me? Brad Pitt, probably.
Clooney?
I don't think he would, but I'd take Brad Pitt. No, I've never done a book. I have had a couple of offers. As a matter of fact, I've been dabbling with the CIA people with a book for the last year, you know, and I've never wanted to do one, basically because I have a lot of respect for books. And I think most sports books are dreadful, okay? I mean, absolutely dreadful. And when people who are broadcasters do them, they really stink. They're usually just a book of lists. So they're really not very good. Feinstein writes books. That's books. He researches it. He can write. I mean, he was a terrible broadcaster, but he's a good writer. But, you know, he's Dave Marinis is a great writer. His book on Lombardi's the best sports biography ever written. If you've never read it, When Pride Still Mattered, grab it tonight and read it. It's the best sports book ever written. But I have too much respect for books. But I can tell you this. I actually was in a movie recently with Adam Sandler. There's a movie coming out called Uncut Gems. It is a serious movie. It's not a comedy. It's a dark comedy. And it's a Scorsese-produced movie done by a couple of young directors who were big fans of mine. And they gave me 2 scenes in the movie where I play a bookmaker and Adam Sandler is in hock to me a bunch of money. And I start screaming at him in a restaurant. And they have a scene in the movie where I'm yelling at the guy in the kitchen because he doesn't know how to make it a Caesar salad. And I'm screaming to him how to make a Caesar salad. item by item in the movie. So I don't want to ruin the scenes, but there's 2 scenes in there in the movie. It comes out, I think, in October. It's called Uncut Gems, and Sandler was great. I spent 18 hours with him doing these 2 scenes, and it was a lot of fun.
How many takes?
I'm telling you, I hit it the first take, I swear. 100 takes. They do so many different angles, and they'll say, that was great, and they'll come over and they'll move your wristwatch, and then they'll do it again. Then they'll say, that was great. They'll come over, they'll move the salt shaker, and they'll do it again. And then they'll put a camera over your head, and they'll do it again. They'll put a camera under the table, and they'll do it again. And he did like 40 takes at each one. It's unbelievable. And the kitchen was like 1,000 degrees, and I'm in a suit, and it was unbelievable in there. I cannot believe how hard those people work. I did 2 scenes and was there 14 hours.
Were you about sick of the retakes? Or were you just along for the ride?
No, I really wanted to do it right because, I just thought it was really challenging. I just wanted to do it because these guys were serious about it, and I'm there with Alan Sandler, who was obviously really good at it. So I wanted to do it right, and I think I did a good job. We'll see, But it's pretty funny stuff. I mean, you know what I didn't like about it? They made me say fuck on it. I didn't want to say that in the movies, but I did. I didn't want to.
Hey, it sounded good coming out there, though.
I didn't really want to say that. I don't like to curse on the air, so that's one thing I don't like to do. So, I did curse in the movie, I have to admit.
Did you know the Caesar salad ingredients before the movie, or
No, I did not. I did. I know it was anchovies. We screamed about the anchovies a lot.
You're incredible, Foxy.
Yeah, Mike, we ask a lot of our guests these questions, and I got to know, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl this year?
I actually think, and I think this is with my heart, but Andy's put everything into this year. I mean, if D Ford doesn't jump offside, and he did jump offside by 1.5 miles.
He was lined up.
So they had to call it. They had no choice. I mean, they didn't want to call it, but they had to call it. He's offside by I know Andy said, why they called it? They called it because he was offside about a country mile. Andy has put everything into this year. He's an old guy, a friend of mine. I've known him a million years. I want him to win, and I just think everything is right for them this year to win the Super Bowl. So I'm praying and hoping that this is their year. I really think everything is right. I don't think he'll be able to keep it together the same way after this year because I think teams' windows are very short. They should have won it last year, like the Falcons. Falcons, who basically, if you locked their coaches at halftime in a room, they would have won the Super Bowl. Okay, but so the Falcons should have won a Super Bowl. So they're downhill since then. They're never getting it back. They had their window; it's closed. They're going down. They're downhill. They're gone. It's over. They're going straight downhill. The Chiefs, they have the window still. I don't know how long the windows stay open. I always wanted Andy, because I think Andy's really a good coach. I wanted Andy to win a Super Bowl. And, he's been a very good coach in this league. He's a good guy. I've liked him a long time. And I hope he wins it this year. And that's my pick. I think everything's right for them this year to win a Super Bowl.
Okay, so Slack, Zoom, and the Chiefs. Three investments.
The Chiefs are chalky. I understand that. But I just think everything's right this year for them to win.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I don't know what you're going to be doing next, but I guarantee you're going to win. You like winners, and you yourself are a winner. You started in a rough area, came to prominence your own way. You've never changed, and all you do is dominate. And I can't thank you enough for your time today. You're an absolute legend, my brother.
I guess that means you're saying goodbye with all that good stuff, huh? All that.
Yeah, I was going to. You see, I was going out on.
Hey, listen, pleasure. You know what? I know you do it. Really, it's in all seriousness. You know what? I wish you luck. The podcast thing has got to sort itself out. I've been very critical of it. A lot of companies ask me to get involved. I haven't done a podcast. And, again, I think that it's going to be bigger than I thought it was. You're at the head of the curve there, clearly, you and a couple other guys. So congratulations, what you're doing. If you're making money doing it, and you are, good luck to you. Keep it up. Don't let anybody tell you to do it differently. Do what's in your gut. Don't let some executive or somebody tell you to do it differently. Do what you believe. Do what you believe in and what you feel. Just keep doing that because it's working. So, and I wish you luck. And you know what? I hope to see you on TV doing some games. And if you do, don't be afraid. Do it. Say what you really believe, not what you say on the air. Say what you believe. Because most guys go on there and pull their punches. That's what's wrong. Go on there and say what's in what you really believe, because that's what the fans want. When you're genuine. That's when it works. Romo's been good on there. You know why? He goes on there and he says what he believes and what he sees. He's not afraid to tell people what he sees, and what he sees is working. That's why he's captured the imagination of everybody so quickly, because he's unique the way he's doing it. He's actually just reacted to with what he feels. And Nance's, who's a good friend of mine, is letting it work. He's riding them the way Summerall rode Madden. It's working. So Romo's going to be really big in the business. He really is, and that's why, because he's different. And you know what? When you get your chance, Pat, that's what you do. Do what you really believe in, what you feel.
I can't thank you enough for that advice. I can't give you any advice other than I can't wait to watch you review a pizza with Dave Portnoy. And I'm going to re-listen.
Portnoy owes me for all the shirts I sold. That's it. So you know what? He's buying the pizza because he's been hawking my shirts for 1,000 years. You know that. So but he's a smart guy. He really is. They've done a good job, Boston. See, there's another one who carved out a niche. They did a really smart thing. They're smart guys. That's what you got to do. You got to carve out a niche. You've done the same thing. So congratulations to you. The other thing, though, is, lose a couple of the guys that I heard today.
You got it. We'll have a cutting process like Facebook.
Really, you know what? I'd cut it in half right now.
Mike, I can't thank you enough. I'm going to re-listen
Thanks, Pat.
back to all
Take
this
care.
advice. I'm going to take notes. I got Slack,
Goodbye.
Zoom, the
Yeah.
Chiefs, and the amount of life and career advice you've given me today is more than I could ever thank you for. Ladies and
Pat, it's not a cartoon. It was a real stock. Slack and Zoom. It's not a cartoon. Slack and Zoom are real companies. You realize that?
I'm going to go dump my entire bank account in both of these for my kids.
80%. Keep 20 under the mat.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Francesa.
See you, Pat. Thanks.